I don't think that they understand their properties. I don't think they understand what makes their properties appealing. They just announced the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie. It's like, you guys have never been able to make G.I. Joe work on screen. The closest that you came was that second G.I. Joe movie with The Rock. And that wasn't great.
This week, we've got the trailer for Transformers 1. I know for a long time, myself and a lot of Transformers fans had pointed out to the first 10 minutes of Bumblebee saying, that's the Transformers movie that I always wanted. And I guess they're sort of delivering that, Aaron Sparrow?
So, I mean, I guess they're sort of telling that story, but it's like a buddy movie, and it's obviously got very juvenile, stupid humor. It's obviously aimed at very young kids, but at the same time, they've got jokes like Bumblebee wants to be called Badassatron, and it's like, so what age group are you really going for here?
I didn't realize the trailer was coming out, and I put it on, and in the first bit, you got Hemsworth out there. Once you get into the film, I was like, maybe this is a joke. About 30 seconds in, I realized, no, this isn't a joke. This is actually the movie they're putting out there. And I don't see how this is going to be like the big mega Transformers hit like what Michael Bay was doing, which I think those movies sucked. I didn't like the Transformer designs, but they were big and bombastic and certainly appealed to a large audience. I don't see many people outside of 8-year-olds thinking this movie looks cool.
No, I mean, I think that this might suffer the same fate as Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, where it kind of just falls flat and nobody's really that excited about it. It's certainly not for old school Transformers fans, which is fine. You can make stuff for kids, and you should, because we're all getting older, and obviously you want to get new kids hooked into the Transformers. But I don't think this is it. I think that this and Hemsworth, I'm surprised, coming off of the trash that was Thor: Love and Thunder, and recognizing the garbage humor that these movies are made of, and having been in Ghostbusters 2016, another movie that was just filled with garbage humor, he was actually the only good thing in it, except maybe a little bit of Kate McKinnon here and there. You would think that he would be able to recognize a garbage product when he sees it now, and for some reason, he just keeps getting attached to these turkeys.
I'm starting to feel bad for the guy. Thor was fantastic, and the other Thor movies just haven't been. They've either been bad like The Dark World, or they've been just absolutely atrocious like Love and Thunder. And he was still fine in Avengers and stuff. But it feels like this dude should be one of the biggest movie stars in the world, but he keeps shooting himself in the foot with really terrible projects.
Yeah, I mean, even when he does something really good, like Extraction is really good. I haven't seen Extraction 2, but I really enjoyed Extraction. I wasn't he in a movie where he was I think he's riding a horse against an opposing army or something like that. I think he might have. I can't remember the name of it. That might be it. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I think Hemsworth is a star, and having met him, he's a super chill dude. He's a guy that you're oh man, I'd totally go get a beer with this dude. This dude's cool. He's funny. He's just naturally charismatic. He's everything that you would think you would need. If you tried to build a movie star from the ground up, it would be Chris Hemsworth. But the problem is they don't make star vehicles anymore. They can barely even make movies anymore. They can't make competent movies. So, it's really hard to give him a role that's going to make him really stand out. And I guess at the end of the day, he's got a family. The guy's got to eat. He's got to feed his family. So, you take projects that come along. But yeah, this guy, he really deserves something better than this. And the fans deserve something better than this.
The fans certainly deserve something better than this. If it was up to me, the prequel or whatever, your reboot, your soft relaunch of Transformers, whatever, I don't know that I would go back and do an origin story. I would probably just want Autobots versus Decepticons on Cybertron and all that, and Tails with your favorite Transformers or whatever. But I think it probably could still work if they took it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do this dumb humor to get kids in. Kids automatically like Transformers. There's definitely a story to be told here of the friendship between Optimus and Megatron, or I'm sorry, I guess he would be Orion Pax at that point. Between Orion Pax and Megatron before they became who they would be. I mean, there's a good Cybertron series on Netflix. At least the first season was good. The second season kind of started to fall apart a little bit and towards the end. And then I never really saw the third one where they went to Beast Wars. But that War for Cybertron, that was pretty damn good on Netflix, and that first season at least. And I don't know why they didn't kind of keep that tone. Obviously, they want to appeal to little kids, but it just, I don't know. It's goofy, and it's it might appeal to really little kids. But are they going to be able to sell high-end toys off of it? Probably not. But maybe it's a play just to sell the little cheap ones that you just push down, and they're a vehicle.
I've got an 8-year-old, I got a 4-year-old, and I've got a 2-year-old. My 8-year-old is a certified Transformers like head. He loves Transformers toys. He watches the cartoons. And when I showed him the trailer, which I absolutely had to, he's super duper excited about the movie, which I would expect. And that means his 4-year-old brother is going to be, because he basically likes everything that his older brother likes. I do think it will appeal to little kids, but the Transformers audience is so much bigger than that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You think that you would try to hit like kind of like all numbers. Give the Transformers fans something that the older Transformers.
I thought Bumblebee was the perfect tone.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it was, and
it had the humor. It was kind of serious. It was coming of age, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot you can sink your teeth into.
The first 10 minutes were good.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, those first 10 minutes of the Bumblebee movie. Chef's kiss. I think that's the movie that every old school Transformers fan wants to see. So I'm not opposed to, doing different things for different audiences. I think that that's fine. But I think at the same time that you're doing something for very little kids, you should be doing something for the older fans too. Because the problem with Hollywood is always they pivot towards something, and then if it doesn't work, they go, oh, well, I guess people aren't really into this property. No, we're into the property. We're just not into this version that you gave us. We've talked about it before with Thundercats. Doing that Thundercats roar was never going to work unless you also gave older Thundercats fans something at the same time that they could sink their teeth into. And they could ignore Roar, and then if Roar didn't work, you didn't have executives saying, oh, well, obviously people don't like the Thundercats. No, we like the Thundercats. We just don't like the fact that you turned it into a shitty Teen Titans Go clone. That doesn't appeal to anybody, and it didn't catch on with kids. So you shot yourself in the foot. I mean, I think that He-Man tried to do it the right way on Netflix, where they did like the CGI show for really young kids, and then they did the more adult version for older fans. Of course, the fans largely rejected the older version, and actually many of them preferred the kids version because they were like, at least this is different and fun. So you can shoot yourself in the foot that way too, but you kind of gotta walk that line when you have generational properties that people appreciate.
Yeah, because it does feel like the humor and the story aspects are beats that at least we're seeing in the trailer so far, and it does appear that by the end they are going to be Optimus Prime, and they are going to be Megatron head leaders of Autobots and Decepticons. That the tone of it makes sense for like a little kid's 15-minute animated show with 30 episodes in one season that you dump out on Netflix or whatever streaming service, and maybe something more along the tone of Bumblebee, which certainly wasn't made specifically for kids, but my kids love. But my wife also liked it, and I also liked it as a Transformers fan. Mm-hmm. And I think they just kind of missed the mark, and you're probably cutting out maybe 20 years worth of audience of people that are going to be willing to go to this. Like, I'll go see this movie, but only with my kids. I don't want to see this thing in the theater by myself.
Right. No, why would you? And I won't see it at all because, there's no...
And it looks like it was really expensive.
It does. And I don't know if this is done by that studio that Hasbro had, the same one that lost all that money on Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know. It's probably through Paramount or something. I think they have the Transformers license, but I don't think that they understand their properties. I don't think they understand what makes their properties appealing. They just announced the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie. It's like, you guys have never been able to make G.I. Joe work on screen. The closest that you came was that second G.I. Joe movie with The Rock. And that wasn't great, but
Whoa. G.I. Joe 84? No,
the animated movie. Yeah, no, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. But remember, they had to pull it from theaters because they were afraid they were going to lose their ass because of the backlash over the Transformers movie and Killing Prime. They had to go in and re-edit the dialogue so that they didn't murder Duke.
Good move.
But it is a damn good, damn fun G.I. Joe story, with all the weird sci-fi elements, which of course now we're seeing in the Skybound series.
Yeah, so it's weird. I know why they're doing it though. It's completely clear why they're doing it, because Hasbro are in fact losing money on the toys. And obviously if you make a movie aimed at little kids, maybe they'll want to play with the little kid versions of the toys. Because I will freely admit, when I go to the store and I see the Transformers like action figures, the ones based on the Michael Bay movie look like crap compared to the old school ones based on like the comic books and the cartoon.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, Hasbro, if you want to stop losing money on your properties, maybe distribute them better. Nobody can find anything. Every time I go to the store and I look at the Transformers section, it is decimated. So either everything is selling out or you're not putting enough on the shelves to make any money. And that's why it sits in your warehouse, and then it ends up at Ollie's and it ends up at Ross. And now you've trained people to not buy it at full price because they'll wait for it on deep clearance. You've shot yourself in the foot with your own stupidity over and over and over again. And this is the problem. This is the problem with these companies, because they always hire these people with business degrees. They come in, they don't know anything about the product, but it doesn't matter because they've got a business degree, and they did some studies on how to everything's just widgets. Just how do we sell the widgets? You have to understand your audience. You have to understand who you're marketing to, and you have to get the product out to them, and they have to be excited about it, and they have to not feel like they're getting price gouged, which, Hasbro did. We talked about it a couple of years ago when they were like, we're raising our prices because we had such a great year, and now we want to have a better year. It's like, well, you had a great year during the pandemic when everybody was getting checks from the government and had expendable money. That's when you had a great year. But you wanted to top that, and you got greedy, and you priced a lot of people out.
Well, and Transformers are already, just as apparent, way more expensive than the other toys in the category that are about the same size. They're almost like, it seems like 50% more expensive. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, you get like a 12-inch Transformer, you're looking at $50. Whereas you get a 6-inch Transformer, 8-inch, whatever. You got the different scales, the leader class and all of that. But yeah, they $50, $60 for the big guys. And then, even the small guys now are like 20, 25.
Hasbro are having a lot of problems right now. In fact, they're having to license out Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, as if things couldn't get any more rocky for the embattled company. Amidst their continued struggles to turn a profit from their toy division, Hasbro has agreed to a licensing deal with fellow toy manufacturer Playmates to allow the latter to produce a new reimagination of the Power Rangers toys line, obviously separate from what's going on with Transformers. But I do think these things are probably related to some degree. And as somebody that buys toys for their kids, I don't like to buy anything Playmates because all their stuff sucks.
Yeah, they're one of the worst toy companies out there. So when they say a reimagining, that means you're going to get crappier versions of the toys. Hasbro was doing really nice. The Lightning Collection was really nice. I actually bought some of those. I have no connection to Power Rangers whatsoever. Couldn't tell you anything about it. I know some of the original Morphin characters. I've met some of the actors and actresses. Very nice people for the most part. Power Morphicon is down here every year. I've worked that show. Really cool people. Don't know anything about the property, but I bought some of those figures because they were really nice. And I bought the Street Fighter crossover figures where Cammy's in the Power Ranger armor. I bought the Turtle crossover figures where the Turtles are wearing the Power Ranger armor, even though it's based on the comic book from Boom Studios, and to hell with them. But the fact of the matter is those toys were really nice, and you're not going to get that quality from Playmates. You're going to get Playmates quality, which is always trash. Playmates, who recently had to apparently cry to Nickelodeon, because Super 7 were producing superior versions of their 80s sculpts. And they had to go cry to Nickelodeon and get that pulled so that they could once again just put out the same sculpts that they put out in the 80s, but with less paint applications than they did in the 80s. Playmates is a ridiculous company. I don't like their stuff. And the fact that they're going to be doing Power Rangers, it's going to be good for Hasbro because they're going to make that licensing fee, but I don't think it'll be good for Playmates because Playmates sucks. Their toys suck.
I think Hasbro is a ridiculous company. Almost like all their lines, they fucked up, not just like within the toys, but all the media around them. Remember all the stuff that they let IDW do to Transformers and G.I. Joe to kill off their popularity within comic books? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, it's a show that's kind of corny, certainly aimed at little kids. When my son was 7, he discovered the latest, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on Netflix or whatever. We're sitting there watching with them. And next thing you know, 2 of the Power Rangers are making out. Why are there gay Power Rangers in a show designed for 6-year-olds?
Because they don't got to get the message out there, Wes. They got to.
I wonder why people stop buying the toys.
Yeah, well, the problem is, and there's fans of each individual version of Power Rangers, but nothing ever sells as well as the original Mighty Morphin Rangers. You got Tommy, you got Kimberly, Trini, all those characters. They're always the ones that drive the sales, but you can only make figures of them so many times. And so Hasbro was branching out with the Lightning Collection. They were trying to do everybody. And like I said, it was really cool, to see all that, but it's diminishing returns. You got to eventually go back to the Mighty Morphin Rangers because those are the most popular ones.
Well, yeah. And, Playmates is just going to make really terrible, cheap versions of those. First revealed to the public by Hasbro in April 22nd press release. This new agreement grants the Hong Kong-based Playmates the rights to develop additional crossover category Power Rangers products, including action figures, blasters, plush, role-play vehicles, and accessories, as well as a global distribution across all regions, excluding Asia. So basically, they'll be doing all the like Power Rangers merch. They just won't be doing Power Rangers and other media like movies or cartoons or TV shows and stuff.
Right, because Hasbro seems to be wanting to move into being an IP farm. Where basically
I think they see themselves as a media company rather than a toy company anymore.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's why they're, the people that they brought in, like for their CEO, and it's like these are people who don't, they're not toy people. They don't understand that market. And maybe, you know what? Maybe it's the evolution of where things are going. I see action figures as still being really, really popular, but they're popular amongst adult collectors. And they don't really have the same, resonance with kids anymore because kids are playing video games. Kids are staring at screens all day. I just see parents handing their kids iPads and their kids are just sitting there like drones, like tapping away at the screen. And I think that that's why we have a whole generation now of people getting into the comic book industry, people getting into entertainment who can't write, who have no imagination because they never had to sit in the backyard. They never got thrown out of the house all day and just had to go into the backyard with their action figures and, imagine scenarios and create these stories in their head. I think it's to our detriment as a society that we're not giving kids action figures and letting their imaginations run wild anymore.
And I'll say this, the action figures that you can get that are still affordable, that are made for kids, are not made anything like to the quality that you and I had as a kid. Those G.I. Joes with the little rubber band midsection, those things were durable. If you broke the rubber band, you were screwed. Otherwise, it was pretty good. Those original Transformers, they were made out of titanium or something. You could have murdered somebody with those things. They were so durable. And now they all break almost as soon as you open the package.
The only Transformer I ever had a problem with when I was a kid was I went through like 3 Megatrons because his arm would always break at the joint because the metal was attached to the plastic and the plastic would eventually break. G.I. Joes, their little T-crotch thing would break. So then their legs would pop out, like you pull on the rubber band until the rubber band broke. Their thumbs would break off, but toys were made to be durable. I don't have kids, so I don't know how rough they are on toys. I know that the Transformers that I have, like they're pretty, like you'll be moving them to try and transform them and you'll move something the wrong way and then like it'll snap, not break, but like they're kind of made to pop apart so you can pop them back together. Like, oh, you're putting too much stress on it. So those are pretty good, but yeah, man, I don't know. It just seems like things are ridiculously expensive and everything's so ridiculously expensive right now. And toys are no different. But the problem is, for a company like Hasbro, let's say that next election we have a new president, the economy comes back into line, prices go down. Hasbro won't reduce their prices if their costs go down. They'll be like, well, people are paying $25. Why would we go back to 20? Like, they're obviously willing to pay 25 and they'll stay at that because they don't have the idea of economies of scale. It seems it's like you'll sell more at 20 and moving more units will make you more profit than less units sold at a higher price. Nobody ever seems to have that mentality in this business anymore.
Well, the bottom line for Hasbro is things aren't going well. In 2023, the company undertook 2 rounds of layoffs, cutting 800 jobs in January and a further 1,100 in December due to slumping sales across all of their core brands except Magic the Gathering. Total Hasbro revenues of $1.5 billion were down 10% versus last year, explained Hasbro CFO Gina Goder during the company's Q3 2023 earnings call. The impact of the broader toy category declines has had a change in our consumer products and total Hasbro outlook. Based on this, we now expect total Hasbro Inc. revenue to be down 13 to 15%, thus explaining why they need to start going out and licensing stuff that in the past has made them a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't see that revenue increasing if you're not selling physical products. Like I see that you're going to make, maybe you'll have a higher profit margin, but you're going to make way less money. So, because licensing out is not quite the same. Obviously, it's a model that Disney has thrived with for years, is licensing out their IP. It wasn't until they tried to bring it all in-house under Disney Plus that things started to really fall apart for them. Good job, Bob. But I don't know. I don't think this is a move for Hasbro because I don't think that they have the sheer amount of brands to make this profitable.
But I do believe Transformers will be the last brand that they'll license out. I still think they feel like that one's the most valuable one that they still have.
They've got a lot of good licenses that they're sitting on that they don't know what to do with. These could all be like turned into something. You could bring back Mask. You could bring back, cops fighting crime in a future time. There's a lot of things that you could put out and sell. There's a lot of things that you could do other media with, but they don't do it. And they're also, another big problem is that they keep relying on nostalgia. You should be marketing your nostalgia, but you should also have an arm of the company that is devoted towards making new things, towards creating new things, getting new properties out there. Everybody's just kind of resting on their laurels. Mattel keeps going back to the well with He-Man instead of innovating and doing anything new. Hasbro's just resting on the same old IPs. It's kind of ridiculous. You guys need to innovate if you're going to survive. And if you're not going to do that, then you're just going to keep shrinking until eventually you get absorbed by somebody else. And then next thing you know, G.I. Joe and Transformers is owned by Disney, and it'll get even worse.
Now, you are in the toy business. You sell action figures. Is this something that you could have seen coming?
Yeah, we talked about it. I said, what was it, 2 years ago? This move by Hasbro is going to be their downfall. These CEOs and their ideas are going to be the downfall of the company. You have to dance with who brought you. The people that brought you are people who buy action figures. Your action figures, toys, that is your core business. Trying to switch D&D to a purely online thing, not going to work. Trying to license out all these things to lesser companies like Playmates who make crap, not going to work. So they just need a leadership shift from the very top. But I just don't know that American companies really know what they're doing anymore. I don't think they put people in power who have any idea of what the brand is and what people like, and they're so out of touch with consumers that I see this continuing. I don't think Hasbro is going to be profitable anytime soon.
I do want to say thank you very much to Aaron for joining me to talk about this. And if you like the Toy Talk, it just so happens on the Geek Fix that we do every week on Think Critical Patreon, Aaron and I run down all the big toys that are being released or announced that week, talking about why they're great and why they're not great. And Aaron is the go-to guy for toys on Think Critical.
Absolutely. Come join us, won't you?